Socialism in Russia. Before 1914, all political parties were treated as illegal in Russia. So before 1914, there were no political parties in Russia. The Russian Social Democratic Workers' Party was made in 1898 by socialists who agreed with Marx's idea. I told you that Marx added to the socialism idea that the workers should stand up against the exploitation of the capitalist. So the Workers' Party, the Social Democratic Workers' Party, was based on the ideas of Marx. However, due to the government policy, it had to operate as an illegal organization. As the political parties were illegal, so the party that was built in 1898, it had to work as illegal organization. It set up a newspaper, mobilized workers as well as organized strikes. What did it do? It set up a newspaper, mobilized or collected workers together and organized strikes. It started doing strikes, organized. Some Russian socialists thought that the Russian peasant custom of dividing land periodically made them natural socialists. Now see what they are doing. They are collecting the land together and all the workers that are working there are getting the things or the profits according to their requirements or according to their works. Whatever they are working, whatever they are providing the labor, they are getting the profits according to that. So they are collecting the whole land and then working in the whole land and getting the profits. So Russian socialists thought that the Russian peasant custom of dividing land periodically made them natural socialists. So they are natural socialists. Thus peasants, not workers, could be the main revolutionary force and Russia could become socialist more fastly than other countries. So they believed that the peasants were the natural socialists and not the workers. So the peasants can be organized and became a revolutionary force and Russia could become socialist more fastly than the other countries. Socialists were active in the countryside through the late 19th century. Most of the farmers, most of the peasants were in the countryside, in the village areas. So socialists were active in the countryside through the late 19th century. They founded the Socialist Revolutionary Party in 1900. This party fought for the peasants' rights and demanded that land belonging to the nobles be provided to peasants. What do they demand? They demanded that the land that was with nobles should be provided to the peasants or the farmers. Social Democrats did not agree with socialist revolutionaries about peasants. Now there were two parties, the Social Democratic Workers' Party that was built in 1898 and the other party we just read that it was built in 1900. It was the party Socialist Revolutionary Party in 1900. So Social Democrats did not agree with socialist revolutionaries about peasants. Lenin realized that peasants were not one united group. Lenin was a great economist as well as social worker. He was a very good socialist person also. He realized that peasants were not one united group, that they are not united. A few were poor and others rich. Some worked as laborers while others were capitalists who were employed workers. As this differentiation was within them, they could not all be able to part of a socialist movement because some of them are gaining more profits and the people that are gaining more profits will not take part in the socialist agenda of dividing the profits equally. The party was bifurcated over the strategy of the organization. The party got divided over the strategy, that how the strategy should be followed. Vladimir Lenin, who was the leader of the Bolshevik group, thought that in a repressive society, such as Tsarist Russia, the party should be disciplined and should control the quality as well as the number of its members. So what did the ideology of Lenin was? It was that in a depressive society, in a society that is oppressing the others, such as the Russia of that time, the Nicholas Russia, the party should be disciplined. The party of Lenin should be disciplined and should control the quality as well as the number of its members. That even if it has less numbers, it should have the people that are more in quality than in quantity. Others, Mensheviks, realized that the party should be open to all, as in Germany. So the other leader, that was Menshevik, it realized that the party should be open to all. That quantity is more important than quality. Russia was in, now the next topic is a turbulent time, the 1905 revolution. Russia was an autocracy. What is an autocracy? An autocracy is where there is only one ruler that has the complete power of the whole country. Unlike other European rulers, even at the starting of the 20th century, the Tsar was not subject to parliament. Like the other European rulers had, in the starting of 20th century, had started taking parliament, or the European countries had parliament in the starting of the 20th century. But Tsar still in the 20th century also was not subject to parliament, was not under a parliament. In Russia, the liberals did efforts to finish this state of affairs with the social democrats and socialist revolutionaries. They worked with the workers and peasants during the revolution of 1905 to demand a constitution. So in Russia, the liberals made efforts to finish this type of affairs of Tsar, this type of things that Tsar was doing, that he was not allowing a parliament. So revolutionaries, the liberals, the social democrats, as well as the socialist revolutionaries, with all the workers and the peasants, they started a revolution of 1905 to demand a constitution. They were supported in the empire by nationalists. So in the empire, that is the Russian Empire, in Poland, for example, they were supported by the nationalists. And in Muslim-dominated regions by the Jadidists, who wanted to modernize Islam to lead their societies. So in the empire in Poland, they were supported by the nationalists, and in Muslim-dominated regions, they were supported by the Jadidists, who wanted to modernize Islam to lead their societies. The year of 1904 was a much bad one for Russian workers. Prices. Now how the revolution started. There should be some boost now. That why it only started in 1905 and not before that. So in year 1904 was a much bad one for the Russian workers. Prices of essential goods increased so rapidly that real wages declined by 20%. Now see, this is a concept that is very easy and it's mostly used in economics. The real wages is wages upon price. So if the price rises, the real wages will decline. What do you mean by real wages? Real wages mean how much quantity you can buy from the given wages. So real wages equal to wages upon price. The price rapidly increased. It increased by 20 or more than 20%, and the real wages declined by 20%. So if the prices rises, the real wages or the quantity that people can buy from that wages declines. The membership of workers' associations enhanced dramatically, and that's why the membership of workers' association enhanced or increased very much. When 4 members of the Assembly of Russian Workers that had been founded in 1904 were dismissed at the Putilvo Iron Works, there was a call for the strike. Now what happened that 4 members of the Assembly of Russian Workers that was formed in 1904. In 1904 a new association was made, the Assembly of Russian Workers, and 4 of the members were dismissed at Iron Works place. So they called for a strike. Over the next few days, over 110,000 workers in St. Petersburg went on a strike. They were demanding a reduction in the working day to 8 hours. So as we saw that in the big industries, the working hours were 10 to 12 hours, and in the small industries, the working hours were 15 hours. So they were demanding that the working hours should be reduced to 8 hours a day. an enhancement in wages, increase in wages, and improvement in conditions of working. That they were made to live in dormitories or small places, small crowded places. So they wanted that their working conditions should also improve. If they are given some place to live, it should be at least a human based, a place where humans can live. Or if they are working in industries, it should be a place where humans can survive. The workers led by Father Gapon reached the Winter Palace. The police as well as the Cossacks attacked on them. So the workers were led by the Father Gapon. They reached the Winter Palace of the Russian king. The police as well as the Cossacks, the army of that time, attacked on them, attacked on the workers. Over 100 workers were killed and about 300 wounded. The incident is known as Bloody Sunday, started a series of events that became called the 1905 revolution. So this is how the revolution started. The workers were very depressed, the workers were very angry about the situation that was happening at that time. The members were increasing of the organizations that were against the king. And with a single spark, that how the 4 workers were kicked out of the company or the industry, the spark rose and they started a strike with 110,000 workers. They went to the Winter Palace, that was the palace of the king or the important nobles, and over 100 workers were killed in the fight with the police and Cossacks and about 300 wounded. This is how it came to be known as 1905 revolution. Strikes spread all over the country and universities closed down when student bodies began walkouts. So strikes happened in all of the country. Even the students came to help the workers. They were complaining about the lack of civil liberties. The students were angry that the liberty, the freedom was not given to the students or any of the people. Doctors, lawyers, engineers as well as other middle class workers formed the Union of Unions and demanded a Constituent Assembly. They demanded that the Constituent Assembly should be formed, and what does the Constituent Assembly do? It makes a constitution for the country so that it doesn't run by a single person but by a government or a parliament. During the 1905 revolution, the Tsar allowed formation of an elected consultative parliament or Duma. So during the 1905 revolution, the king, the Nicholas, had to come down and he allowed for the formation of the elected consultative parliament or Duma. Briefly, while during the revolution, there existed a big number of factory committees and trade unions made up of factory workers. So during the time of revolution, there were large numbers of factory committees, factory workers, or we can say it were the workers' organization and unions. After 1905, most unions and committees worked unofficially as they were declared by law as illegal. After 1905, what happened? That all of the committees had to work unofficially because they were considered illegal. Several restrictions were placed on political activity, that they can't meet in large groups, or many other restrictions were made. The Tsar Nicholas dismissed the first Duma within 75 days and re-elected second Duma within 3 months. So he cancelled the first elected consultative parliament in 75 days and he re-elected second one. He did not desire that anyone question of his authority or any reduction of his power. But he elected the Duma, but he didn't want that his power should be reduced or his authority be questioned. He changed the voting law and filled the third Duma with the conservative politicians. So what did he do? He again cancelled the second Duma also and made the third one with people that were conservatives, that were the people of king only. Liberals and revolutionaries were kept out from the Duma. See, what do liberals and revolutionaries wanted? They wanted a constitution, they wanted democracy, they wanted their rights, liberties. The conservatives were not against the liberals, but they did not support democracy that much. So the third Duma was filled with conservative politicians and liberals and revolutionaries were kept out of the Duma, third Duma. So the next topic the socialism in Europe and the Russian Revolution is the First World War and the Russian Empire. So here we saw that in 1914 the war broke out. There was a war, and there was a war in between two European alliances. One was Central Powers and the other was Allies. In Central Power there was Germany, Austria and Turkey, and in Allies there were many countries: France, Britain and Russia. Later on, Italy and Romania also added in the war. Each country had a global empire. Germany had an empire, Austria, Turkey, France, Britain, even Russia. All of these countries had their own empire, and the war was fought between those empires. The war was being fought in Europe as well as outside the Europe. In Russia, the war was initially popular and people rallied around Tsar Nicholas II. As the war continued though, the Tsar refused to consult the main parties in Duma. So in the starting, the Tsar Nicholas II the war was popular, as people thought that the war will end soon and we will win and we will control over the other countries and we will get everything of other countries. But as the war continued, the Tsar refused to talk or consult with Duma, and the Duma was consultative power. So Tsar Nicholas stopped consulting with Duma and Tsar lost the support, as well as anti-German sentiments, because Russia was in another alliance and Germany was in another alliance. So anti-German, that is the sentiments against Germans. The sentiments that were against German can be seen in the renaming of St. Petersburg, a German name, as Petrograd. So St. Petersburg was a German name and it was later on changed to Petrograd. The Tsarian Alexander's German origins and poor advisors, especially a monk called Rasputin, made the autocracy unpopular. So the Tsarian Alexander had German origin, and the poor advisors of the Tsar also made, like monk Rasputin, made the autocracy, the sole authority of Tsar, unpopular. So the First World War was on the Western Front and Eastern Front. In the Western Front there were trenches. Now what are trenches? Trenches are dug up spaces in which the soldiers are in the area, in the dug up area, and they do not fight in one-on-one battle. They put use of machine guns and rapid fire artillery, guns and other things, fire machine guns, so to fight. They do not go out of the trenches and fight, they just fight from inside the trenches, inside the hideout. That's why the war is not, like the casualty was not much, as no soldier dared to come out and fight. If they just come out of their trench, the other team or other alliance will just fire their guns and the soldiers will be killed. So no one dared, not the allies or the Central Power dared to come out of the trenches. So in Western Front, this type of warfare was taking place, the trenches. And the trenches were connected to Eastern France. Next, in the Eastern Front, you can see the map. St. Petersburg was here, and in Russia and Moscow. Then here is Estonia, Lithuania and Latvia. Here is Finland and Sweden and Norway. This is the Baltic Sea, which connects all the states of the empire. Now the Baltic Sea was controlled by the Germans in the fight. In the First World War, in the east, armies moved a good deal and fought battles, leaving large casualties. So in the east, what was happening? The armies were walking or was going in the other countries' area, and they were fighting, and the casualties was high, because now they were not in Eastern Front, they were not fighting from the trenches, but they were fighting one-on-one or in the battlefield. So in the east, armies moved a good deal and fought battles, leaving large casualties. Defeats were shocking and demoralizing because there was huge casualties. So if the army is defeated, means most of the soldiers were dead of that army, the defeating army. Russia's armies lost badly in Germany and Austria. So in Germany and Austria, they lost badly. Between 1914 to 1916, there were over 7 million casualties by 1917. So the war started from 1914, and by 1917 there were 7 million casualties. 7 million soldiers were dead. As they retreated, the Russian army destroyed crops. Now, what the retreating army did? The Russian army, when they lost in Germany and Austria, by retreating, they destroyed the buildings, they destroyed the houses, they put fire on the crops, so that the army, the German and Austria army, cannot move forward to Russia or come forward to the other nations. So they started putting fire in middle on the crops and the buildings, so that the Germany and Austria soldiers cannot get food also. There were the Russian army destroyed crops and buildings to prevent the enemy from being able to live off the land. So the soldiers or the enemy, the Germany and Austria, did not get the crop. That's why they used to put fire on the crops. The destruction of crops and buildings led to over 3 million refugees in Russia. So now the crops are burned. So what will the people of that area will do? They will find refuge in some other country, and the Russia was nearby, as Germany and Australia is in West Europe and all these are in the Eastern Europe. So the nearest area is Russia Empire. So the people of here find a refuge in Russia. The situation discredited the government and the Tsar. Soldiers did not wish to fight such a war. Now they had already lost 7 million people, 7 million soldiers or other people in the casualty. Now the soldiers did not want to fight. Like in the start they were supporting the fight, but as the years moved forward, they could not see the end of the fight, and that's why the soldiers did not want to fight now. Russia's own industries were few in number, and the country was cut off from other suppliers of industrial goods by German control of the Baltic Sea. As I told you, the Baltic Sea was controlled by Germany. Now in Russia we saw that only Petersburg and Moscow were the main industrial areas, and many other industries were open, but they were very few. So the Russia used to, like 85% of the population was agriculturalist. The industries were very less. As compared to other countries. So Russia needed to import most of the goods, most of the industrial goods. Now, from where will they import? Because this is closed off land, they imported through Baltic Sea. They imported through Baltic Sea. Now, Baltic Sea is controlled by the enemy. Now, the enemy will not let any of the ships go through Baltic Sea to the St. Petersburg or Finland or any of the Russian Empire area. That's why the prices of industrial goods rose in the country, as industrial goods quantity was very less. Industrial equipment disintegrated more rapidly in Russia than elsewhere in Europe. By 1916, railway lines began to break down. Now the industrial machinery and everything, that also started breaking down. Even the railway lines started to break down by 1916. Able-bodied men were called up to the war, forcing most of the people of Russia and all the countries that were included in the fight. The men were gone to the war. Only women were left. As a result, there were labor shortages and small workshops producing essentials were shut down. Most of the workshops, now the industries are not very much in Russia, but there are small workshops in Russia. They had to be closed down because of the labor shortages. The labor was not there. Large supplies of grain were sent to feed the army. Now, most of the agricultural produce were sent to feed the armies, were sent to feed the Russian or the Allies armies. For the people in the cities, bread and flour became scarce. Now, if most of the supply is going to the army, that is the people living in the country, they are not getting the food, proper food. So, bread and flour became scarce, very scarce. By the winter of 1916, riots at bread shops were common. By 1916, we saw that there were many riots, revolts for fighting for the bread, for food. So this is the whole concept of the First World War that started in 1940. There were Central Powers and Allies. The name of countries is written here. Now there was like two fronts where the war was taking place, the western front and the eastern front. In the western front what was happening? They were fighting from the trenches, and that's why the casualty was very less. Trenches, what are trenches? There are two blocks created and the land is dug up in between two blocks, and the soldiers are placed in that dug up area so that if the fire comes they are protected because they are usually underground. And they place the firearms or the artillery, the machine guns in the field so that whenever the other alliance of soldiers try to come on the ground and try to start the fight, they can just shoot their guns and the war will end here. So none of the alliances dare to come out on the land fight. So here the trenches had to be maintained thus. The casualty was very less in the eastern front, and this was happening east of France, in the eastern France area. In the eastern front, the fight that was taking place was on the battlefield, and people were fighting one-on-one. Here, the armies were moving towards the enemy field, and then the fighting was taking place, and the casualty was very high. In Germany and Austria, the Russian army lost, and when they were retreating, what did they do? They destroyed the crops and the buildings of that area, so that the armies do not get the enemy armies do not get the food. 3 million of the people, now the buildings and crops are destroyed, so 3 million of the refugees came to Russia. Now the soldiers didn't want to fight such kind of war where the casualty was so high, as well as they didn't want to fight such a battle, such a demoralized battle. Now in the country also the situation was bad. The industrial production was not very good in Russia or the whole empire. The Baltic Sea was controlled by the Germans, and that's why no ships with industrial goods can come inside the country, inside the whole empire. See, if the enemy controls the Baltic Sea, they control all the ships that are going inside the country or the whole empire. So no ship was allowed to go inside the whole empire to give the production or give the industrial goods. The agriculture condition was also not good. The food production in Russia is high, but the food was going to the armies that were fighting in the battlefield, and very less food was left for the empire itself. And that's why the people were very depressed, as they were not getting the bread and flour. The prices of bread and flour were going very high. The fights started taking place inside the country only for the food. So this was the condition of the Eastern Front, the fight of the Eastern Front, that the armies didn't want to fight anymore. They were tired of fighting. They were seeing the casualties. That was 7 million casualties. The soldiers were also very demoralized. So here we end the topic for today.